There we go.
I see the live button. Okay, so this is group 6 in CIT 380. My name is Mike Thoming. We've got Tessa Blitz, Caleb Johnson, Hans Anderson, and Will Allman. Did I get everybody's name right?
Hans Peterson.
Hans Peterson, sorry. All those Nordic names, I don't know. So this is our group. We're going to be doing our poker. What's it called again?
Planning poker.
Planning poker.
Planning
Right.
poker.
And so we've got our user stories. We'll be going through those one at a time. And with each story, our grading methodology is based on how important we think each story is in the grand scheme of things. So we're not using a number of hours or number of days to accomplish each task, because each of our tasks is pretty simple overall and shouldn't take very much time. So we're putting all that aside, and instead we're just our numerical values that we're going to play our poker game with are all dependent on how each of us individually feels each of those pieces, each of those stories fits into the whole scheme, higher or lower numbers. So a 0 means that we feel that that's a unimportant story or could be eliminated altogether. A 10 means that we think it's the most important story. And then anything in between, just depending on how we feel that that story fits in with the whole scheme. Fair enough, everybody?
Fair enough.
All right, Tessa's going to be our moderator and read off our stories as we go along. So fire away, Tessa.
Okay, so, well, do we want to share a screen so everybody can see, or not worry about it?
Someone can go ahead and share a screen, and then I believe it's Michael. You're the leader of the call. So if you double click whoever's sharing the screen, it will automatically lock onto their screen. Yeah.
Okay. Hans, do you want to share it?
Hans.
Yeah. How do I do that?
Sorry.
Oh, actually.
So if you look over on the right, yeah, there you go.
Oh.
All right. Is it good?
Or
yeah. Does everybody see it now?
Yep.
Is it locked on and staying there?
It should have a white border around him.
Yeah.
Not sure. Do I? Because I started the call. Do I need to press? Like, there's a little button with Hans.
Yeah. So you just have to click Hans' picture, and it will his whole thing will turn border white, and that'll mean it's locked on. So that if anyone else talks, it'll still lock on Hans' screen.
Yeah, that's well. Okay, I think it's doing that. There's also an option to present to everyone, or like, yeah. Anyways,
oh, Hans can choose to present to everyone, and that'll lock onto him, maybe.
Well, that
okay.
works too.
I think we should be good.
Logistics.
Okay, go ahead, Tessa.
Okay, so our first user story is the bishop of the ward. And it says, as the bishop of the ward, I see this activity as a great opportunity to unite the whole community. There are many inactive and non-members in our ward. This would be a great missionary opportunity for the members of our ward to reach out and make them feel welcome and possibly bring them to church. So everybody vote on 3? Yeah?
Yep.
Yeah.
All right, 1, 2, 3. Oh.
Oh boy.
We're like off.
All right.
So I'll start out because I put the 10. I mainly chose that just because I feel like this is just kind of like the overarching goal of the project, which is to unite the whole community. I don't know. So yeah, because I kind of feel like probably some of these other user stories will just kind of fit into that.
Yeah.
But,
Mm-hmm.
All right, Hans, do you want to go with your 7? Just kind of.
I just uniting the whole community. That's one of the main purposes of our project. It's maybe, I wasn't thinking 10, but pretty high. So
yeah. So I was thinking it was a bit just like it was important, but it was too general to count like too high. So I thought it was a little above average, but not really too high above average. So I gave it a 6. Um, you know.
This is awesome. So I voted a 4, and the reason for that is while it's not something to be ignored, I also felt like it's something that even if we paid no attention to it, we would still accomplish it
Okay.
because of all the other stories that we went through.
That makes sense.
Yeah, that does.
But I am kind of swayed by Will, because you're right. Like this is the top point of everything. This is kind of like the master story. That if this one isn't achieved, then the rest of it was all just a bunch of running around. I won't say for nothing, but we certainly wouldn't accomplish the purpose if we don't get this done.
Yeah, I can see it both ways.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Well, I tend to be a little bit more kind of nuts and bolts about things, and I can miss the grand scheme. So I'm pretty heavily swayed by your argument, and I would be tempted, if not to vote a 10, I'd be tempted to vote very high now that I've heard your reasoning.
So we could do everyone select, like we could just choose one person's vote and go with that, or do we want to just add them all up and go out of 50?
I think technically
So-
I think you're
in the
supposed
we're supposed to vote.
vote again.
Revote.
So I think so.
Yep.
So
Without previously agreeing on what we should vote for next.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay.
You ready? 1, 2, 3. You guys always go after me.
Okay,
Now
so
I'm the
I think we
highest.
have our general area of where we see this story at.
Some of the instructions said we should not average things out, but if we were kind of forced to, we could take the mean, not the average, but the mean.
Or the
Yeah.
median,
That
you
would
mean?
be an 8 here, obviously,
Yeah.
which I think is fine with me.
I'm good with 8.
I'm good with 8.
Yeah, let's do that.
All right.
All right. Next user story. Relief Society president. We need to make sure that everything is well organized
And we
and
may
thought
have
out.
violated some rule.
What?
We may have violated some other rule I don't know about, but that's fine with me.
I'm sure we're going to do that many times. Okay, so we need to make sure that everything is well organized and thought out so that there is a purpose behind everything and time is not being wasted and we get the most out of every second. Ready? 1, 2, 3.
Okay.
All right, so mine's the highest. And I feel like
Wondering.
organization is pretty important so that people know where they're supposed to be going and people know what they're supposed to be doing. Like host families know what they're supposed to be doing. I think if it's unorganized, then people don't know anything about it. They don't know when to go, where to go.
Yeah.
That's my thought.
Okay. Mine was that I agree, like it needs to be organized and like that's kind of, what every plan needs. But I don't feel like it's necessarily the most important thing of the project, like with getting everything done. But when I was writing this, I was just thinking about the Relief Society president in my ward who was insane about organization. So, that's kind of just one of the things that popped in my head where she makes sure that, every second at any activity has something happening and making sure that people are active. But at the same time, I feel like there are other things more important than just the organization. So I didn't give it a full 10.
what was your vote, Caleb?
7.
7. Okay. Yeah, I voted 6 because while I feel like organization is important, I just didn't feel like this was specific enough in terms of like actual.
I don't think
I
any
don't.
of specific.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's our
I just.
problem.
Yeah.
I did the 6. I did one of the 6s, and now that we have a baseline with the bishop story, I feel like something's going to have to be pretty significant to be that important or more important than the bishop story. And I look at this one and I say, if we didn't have it top-notch organized, if we had it organized to a moderate level, would it still be?
Uh-oh.
Yeah, I was gonna say, am
It's
I the
like,
only one
I
here?
definitely need to have organization, but if that gets set aside a little bit, I think we'll still be fine. So that was my 6.
Okay.
So I think that setting aside organization is okay a little bit, but
There's a level of organization that you need and you don't necessarily need all the time.
right. But if nobody, I don't know. If nobody knows what's going on, I mean, most of our activity is letting people know what the activity is and where it is,
Yeah.
like whose house is, what, and all of that kind of stuff. I
Yeah.
just feel maybe it might not be an 8, but I just think that it's I mean, almost as important as the activity being uniting everybody. If you
Yeah.
don't have people there, then you don't have anybody being united.
Do we want to try another vote? And if we're still
Yeah.
Yeah, let's try one more
in
vote.
agreement, then we can move on and come back to it.
Let's vote twice for each thing and see if we can come to an agreement each time
Okay.
for each story. All right.
1, 2, 3.
Oh, I'm just gonna awkwardly. There you go.
Close enough.
Yeah.
Okay.
Ignore that 6 you guys saw.
Fingers
Okay, the next one, Elders Quorum President. I want this to be a simple and fun activity that doesn't require a ton of extra work so that it doesn't impose on any families or other activities that are helping at the time. Ready? 1, 2, 3.
Oh. So we can all kind of agree it's a little lower than the others.
Yeah, I think that's the general idea. I mean, I feel like I voted 5, and maybe I voted too high, but I just I don't know. It should be fun, and I guess simple as well. And I mean, I guess that's the general thing, is simple and fun so that it doesn't impose on other families. But I don't know. I feel like that's not the most important aspect of the project. So
Yeah, I voted a 5 too, and I think that was more out of social influence of the last couple.
Yeah.
If I were to give, yeah, honestly, I wasn't giving my real opinion, and I own that. But I think this is one of those that could actually be almost eliminated. So
Yeah.
That's kind of why I did it too, just because if it's in, I mean, if somebody's busy that week, the idea is they just don't go.
Yeah.
That's why we do it every week, because then people can go at least one time during the month or something like that.
Yeah. I gave it a 2 because I mean, most of it is already going to happen on naturally. You know, like the project is a simple project on its own. It's going to, it's going to be fun depending on how people make it fun. Like, we really can't control that for them. So it's not like it just sounds like one of those things that's just classic stereotypical elders quorum president where it's like, yeah, I just don't want to do very much work, so let's just definitely keep it simple, and I'm gonna kick back and relax. All right.
Yeah, I give it a 4 just because, yeah, I didn't really say much. It's not really as important as the other points, so.
Yeah. All right. Do we want to revote?
Yep.
Yeah.
All right.
1, 2, 3.
All right.
Who's got their hand hovering over the delete key?
I'm waiting now because you guys, I always go before anybody else. I won't wait again this time. Oh, I don't have a space. There we go.
There we go.
Okay.
2.
Oh.
Okay. Finance clerk. As the finance clerk, I want to know who the host families are each week so I know who to contact about cost reimbursement. 1, 2, 3. See, I just went first. Wow, somebody gave it a 10.
Okay. And
I want to hear that. Who's 10?
All right. So I felt like this is really important because you need to make sure that with this I mean, I guess it depends on, like the costs, and we've discussed that in the project. But I feel like families are very, like, depending on the family, like some people who could be struggling with money, like we need to make sure that we're on top of that. So I felt it was a really important aspect of our project to make sure that we handle the money like really carefully with things like this. So that's why I kind of gave it a 10 on that like importance scale.
Yeah,
But
So I gave it a 3 because I feel like it's up to the ward member who was the host family to get their receipts turned in. And I don't think that anybody should be chasing them around and
okay, yeah.
like making sure that it happens. Do you know what I mean? Like, I
Yep.
feel like that is their responsibility, not the responsibility of anybody on our team or anybody in charge of the activity.
I'll add to
Like
that.
the financial.
I agree. I'm
Okay, go ahead.
I'm the 4, and there is a whole separate structure in place in the church to make sure this happens successfully, and I think we can lean on that without having to take up bandwidth in our project.
I can
So
agree
that's
with
why I
that.
gave it a 4.
Yeah.
Yeah, I give it a 6, but honestly, I was just thinking the importance of the families getting reimbursed. And
Yeah,
my
that's what I
idea
was doing with
was
mine.
it's important that the host families get reimbursed. That way, they have a good experience being host families. That way, in the future, in the future walkabouts, people will actually
Want to be hosts.
volunteer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
No, I think that all can be done.
the finance clerk, I feel
Yep.
like, is not important. So yes.
Okay.
Revote.
All right, revote.
Yeah, we're gonna definitely
Yeah.
revote that one. All right.
All right, 1, 2, 3.
Oh,
That's funny.
shucks.
Now is it a 0?
Yeah, I just
Yeah.
feel like it's like you guys were saying, like it's not
Cheating.
They still need their money. Let's not miss that point.
Yeah.
that's true. But like Tessa was saying, I feel like it's if they want to get reimbursed, then they'll do that.
Yeah.
It's not really the job of the finance clerk, but
Yeah.
I mean, you also have to think about some families too, like, because I mean, I don't know about you guys, but some people, like, there are families here in Texas in my ward where it's like they just have these odd expectations of the church to where they believe that they don't have to do that work.
Yeah.
And
Then
yeah, those are the
get the
families that could
back.
cause problems.
yeah.
Yeah, and that's kind of where I still think it's at least a 4, where it's like we still have to watch out for the not so fun families in the ward.
Yeah.
There's always that one.
And if you
At
think
least.
there's not that one, it's you.
Yeah, exactly. There you go.
Okay, our next one is. Do we want to do, or are we doing them separate? Host families.
Let's see, so
We'll just do them separate. We'll be quick. Okay,
Yep.
host family
Yeah.
number 1. My family will be hosts 1 week of the activity. We plan to have our yard set up with a small game and treats. We are hopeful that the members of our ward will have an enjoyable time while visiting our home. Okay, ready? 1, 2, 3. See, you're all after me again. Low typers. It's only one number.
all right,
Okay,
I'll
so
go
I
first.
put
I
I
can
got,
do it for 4.
because-
You did a 7?
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I did a 7 too, and my thinking is, again, the bishop story was pretty darn important. I had my view on that changed, but now I really think that's very important. But the whole project falls apart without good host families. That's why I ranked this just beneath the bishop story and importance.
So I put a 5, and that's mainly because I was focusing on the small games and treats aspect of it, which I just feel like people can gather and mingle and have fun without those things and have a good experience. And then the other thing is this is just one host family. There could be, 2 other host families in one activity that, have better games or treats or whatever, and people have a better time there. So I don't know. That's why I put 5. It is important, but at the same time.
See, I gave it a 4 because like after like our discussion on the finance clerk, I kind of had the same idea where like with the host families, it's really dependent more so on the family and the people that go there than anything that we can really control. Because I mean, I like also focused on the the games and the treats and stuff like that, where it's like, well, you might go to one host family where they have that, and you might go to another host family where they just have a game, no treats. And so it's not really something that we can necessarily control, but it's more dependent on the host family themselves. So I was kind of rating this one individually in that sort of way, I guess.
Yeah.
For me, I gave it a 4. Like, I can see like having like the host families like be important and want them to be excited, but like just in the big picture, like I don't know. But I would probably rate it a little higher if I were to do it again.
Yeah.
I think we're all just looking at it differently. Like I'm looking at it as you have to have a host family or you don't have an activity rather than.
Yeah.
That's
Well,
true.
the fact that we have two host family stories too is where I'm going off my judgment. So that's why I'm doing it individually.
And I can't remember the instruction. I know I read something that talked about when you have multiple stories that relate to each other, and that you could have like a cumulative um, story points between the two. So if we rate both of these as a 4 or 5, then that means that they equal a 10 altogether. I
Yeah.
don't remember if that was approved methodology or not.
I don't even remember reading that. So.
Yeah, I don't either.
Okay. Do we want to revote?
Yeah, let's do
Yeah.
All right.
Somebody already vote.
Is there a vote from last
I can't
time?
tell if that's like, is that me? Because like, oh, I think that's mine. Sorry, like Han's name was in the way of like seeing where my cursor was, so I thought I hit back.
You have to push backspace.
I did. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, ready, Will or Mike?
Yeah, sorry.
It's okay. All right, ready?
1.
1, 2, 3. Five it is.
Kind of anonymously
Oh,
changes.
Okay. Host family 2. As a host family, I want clear instructions from the organizers explaining what the expectations will be. I would also like the budget to be clear. I think we're missing one. Oh, Mike.
Yeah, change location. Okay.
All right, ready?
Yep.
1, 2, 3.
All right. Let's hear the 8s.
So I put 8 just because I feel like this is kind of a make it or break it type task. Like if the host family doesn't really know what they're doing, then the project really can't happen. And if the project can't happen, then like the bishop's entire user story is, nothing can come to fruition. So
Yeah.
I rated it as a 6 because I think this is a better story overall than the last host family story.
Yeah. I gave it a 6 because like this is the host family that like I was talking about where it's like they kind of have this expectation. They have the I mean it says it. They have the expectation of like things need to be given to them so that they know and they can plan and they can do all this stuff. And like they have to have it and like you guys said it's a break it or go in or break it and yeah.
I gave it an 8 just because like I think just establishing the expectations is important. Like you don't want a host family to like like just have maybe like just something like really, I don't know. You just want to make sure they're doing it like up to like the vision of the project, I think.
Yeah. All right, shall we revote?
Yep.
Whose 6 is that?
Sorry, got it.
All right.
You ready? 1, 2, 3.
The
Somehow I feel
anonymous
like this works
Morris.
better with the cards when you can't hurry and change them. But
Yeah, right. It's like,
okay. Member attendee number 1. As an active ward member, I want the opportunity to visit with my less active neighbor so that I have a chance to discuss the gospel with them. I don't have a spot again. Oh, I'm clear down there. Okay. 1, 2, 3.
Oh,
Dang it, I just
45.
spun over somebody.
45. Wow, that beats my 9.
Pretty important.
Shucks. Yeah. So other than the 45, I'll start here. So I thought this was probably like the most important because this is kind of the purpose of our project is to be able to have members discuss the gospel with those around them, like the less active. So that's kind of my idea is like this is our project right here. Like this is what we want our project to do is give the opportunity for members to meet with the non-members and less active members. So
I agree. I just kind of, I guess, focused on the aspect of discussing the gospel with them. And
yeah.
I mean that while that's important, I thought that like even just the next story down, I looked at it real quick, and where it's just inviting your less active neighbors, I felt like that could even be, I don't know, I guess they're probably just about the same thing. So I might
Yeah.
vote a little
I
higher.
don't think they're the same thing, actually.
I don't think so. Well, because in this one it says that they want the opportunity to visit with them, and the other one it's just invite them. So it's not necessarily like, oh yeah, it's like with the one below it's like, oh yeah, you want to come have a great time, but in the one that we're discussing it's like, oh hey, I'd like the opportunity to actually talk about the gospel with you. And it's kind of the
So
prospect of it.
to me, that would that would make it even lower for me.
Oh,
Because I don't feel like it is, I don't feel like our activity is so that we can preach to them. It's so that we can get to know them. So to me, this one is less important because I feel like if somebody feels like they're being invited so that they can be preached to, they're not going to want to come very many times. But if they feel like they're being invited so that they can get to know their neighbors and make friends, and then that teaching the gospel can come later,
okay.
but like for me, in North Carolina, we had some Catholic friends and they invited us to go to mass with them, and we went with them and it was interesting and great. They didn't try to convert us though. I think if they tried to convert us, we'd be like, yeah, we're not going to go again. Do you know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah, so like yeah, and just like through my perspective like when reading it cuz like I focused on more so the opportunity cuz like I was focusing on the fact that it's like we're focusing on the member themselves, not necessarily like the non-member. So I was focusing on like, oh, well, we're giving our members the opportunity to go visit with their neighbors. So that's why I viewed it as an important
Yeah.
aspect of our project. Like I was mostly focusing on the member themselves rather than the people that they go, the neighbors that they go to preach
Yeah,
to.
I heard a couple names I know in there. Sorry, guys.
If we're comparing it to the next one, like we were talking about, I still kind of think that maybe just inviting them is, like Tessa was saying, kind of more important than
Yeah.
being able to discuss the gospel. Because I mean, for one thing, if you're looking at them, you're not going to have the opportunity to discuss anything with them if you don't actually invite them.
Yeah.
So
I agree with that.
Respectable.
they're both important, but
All right, revote.
Revote.
Who's 4?
Somebody on my 4. Oh, hold on. Sorry.
He's pretty solid on that
Keep
4.
forgetting I need to be on the second window.
Everybody vote 4. Just kidding.
I'll put a 5 right next to it. We'll get that 4 to
3.
5 again.
All right, 1, 2, 3.
Did nobody get the memo?
I guess we're supposed to go.
We're close.
4. There you go.
I actually moved my 4 from a 5 because I convinced myself that it was lower. You don't have to change it. We can save it for later if we're really disagreeing.
All right.
All right, are we making it a 4 then?
I guess we'll leave it at a 4.
Interest of time.
Yeah.
Okay. Member attendee number 2. As an active ward member, I want to know ahead of time when the activities will start and where they will be held so that I can invite my less active neighbors. 1, 2, 3.
We can get a 65 now, or?
Okay. All right.
So I chose
I'll
5 just because.
Oh, go ahead.
Sorry. I chose 5 just because I think it's a little more important than the one above it, but I also think there's other things that go into the activity, like getting to know your active neighbors, you know? So I don't think it's super important, but I mean, it's part of it, but it's not all of it. That's not the only aspect of it.
So I voted 8, and that's mainly because I feel like this ties directly in with the bishop user story of uniting the whole community. So I just felt like basically it's the same thing, but just like a portion of that. But yeah.
Okay. So yeah, I gave it a 6 because like I kind of felt the same way. I felt like it was a little more important than the member for the first member, but at the same time, like, because I think I'd agree, like maybe it's a little higher now that I think about it, because it is what we want, where we want to not just reach out to the members, but we want to reach out to the community and being able to invite the less active neighbors. Which I mean, if you think about it, like it's not. I feel like it's just shouldn't be just like less active neighbors, but like non-members as well. So I feel like that I probably should have, yeah, like I can see it being more important, like along with the bishops, but yeah, I definitely see that point of view now that I look at it.
I gave it a 6 just because I think like details like time and place and stuff like that are important. Like nobody wants to like be told like an hour before where the activity is being held and where it's at. Like I think just planning ahead is important.
Oh. All right, revote.
Yep.
Sorry, guys. I've had a few distractions coming up over here.
There you go. I got you.
Is that my number?
Yep.
Who's not up there?
There.
Are you voting a 6?
Are we re-voting?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry.
Okay, 1, 2, 3.
Sounds good.
7 it is.
So I kind of get the impression that everything's going to be above average. We're nervous, except for that Elders Quorum president ranking.
Yeah.
We're nervous to have anything be less than a 4. And at the same time, we haven't assigned anything a 9 yet.
Does
Or a
it
10.
have to have a 9 or a 10?
I
I
mean,
mean,
I think it just depends more so on the story. Honestly, Because I mean, if you look at it, our rankings, like we still have a general idea of like, okay, well, we know now what is our most important, and then we can still kind of go down from there. So like we know the bishop is the most important so far. Then we have our release society and our host families, and then we need to focus on our, finance clerk as well as our host family, and then last but not least, our elders quorum president. Who it's like, okay, I mean, if we need to get there, like we'll get there. But like we still have a general focus on like where our project is and everything like that. So I don't necessarily think we need to have a 10 and a 9 and a 1, a 0 and a 1. But as long as we have this general idea of like where our project is going to be focused at and where we're going with
Yeah.
it, then we should be
Right.
okay.
And I think you can get lost in trying to compare things to one another, and maybe there really shouldn't be. Maybe sometimes there should be, but you don't want to get lost in comparisons between stories.
Yeah.
Okay, so nobody look ahead to the next one. Yeah? Okay, non-member attending number 1. I do not attend church, but I'd like to get to know the people who go there better. I do not know much about Mormons, and I am curious of what their religion is about. My parents are Catholic, and I'd like to see how their religion differs from the Mormons. I have some concerns because I've heard that their religion is a cult. I want to see if they're weird or if they're like ordinary people. That's a good one, Hans.
Thanks.
Pretty good.
Okay, ready? 1, 2, 3.
Okay. Well, I guess I'll start us off here. So I gave it a 9 because I feel like this is the people that we want to bring to our activity because they are the ones that we want to be able to talk to afterwards. They're the reason that we're doing this to unify not just our members, but the non-members who are curious about our religion and stuff like that. So I felt like that's why it was really important because these are the people that we want to come to our project.
That's essentially why I voted it an 8 as well.
Yeah. Plus, we got to prove to them we're a cult, so magic underwear. So yeah.
I voted 6. Yeah, I think it's important to. I would probably give it a 7 or 8. Like, I think it's important to like let them feel welcome and let them know we're not a cult and everything. So.
Yeah, I just changed mine. Let's revote.
Okay.
Coming.
Ready? 1, 2, 3.
All right. Looks like we got ourselves
Probably 8. It looks like.
Yeah.
I don't think that's how it's supposed to work, but
We'll
getting
kind of roll with it. See how we like it in the end.
okay. Non-member attending number 2. I've gone to church on a couple occasions. I'm not sure if I entirely believe the things which Mormons believe, but they seem really friendly, and I'd feel bad to turn down the invitation to the activity.
My bad
Sorry.
on that here.
All right. Okay, ready? 1, 2, 3.
So I put an 8 just because I feel like this is just the same importance as the last one, actually.
That makes sense.
Yeah. I mean, I gave it a 6 because I just felt like we don't want to necessarily pressure people into coming to it. We want them to feel welcomed. So like, I feel like this with this member, it just feels like they're just feeling peer pressured into going, rather than they want to go. So I didn't really view it as necessarily as important, but like I guess I probably should have like I could agree with the 7, but not necessarily as important as the member above. So.
All right, revote. Yeah, I'm in a meeting.
Yeah.
No, go. I love you. Sorry. 1, 2, 3.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow, that's amazing.
There we go.
Is it? Okay, less active member attendee number 1. I haven't been to church in a few months. I was contacted by my ministering sister and invited to the activity. I need to know when and where to meet everyone. I'm concerned about meeting new people and a little self-conscious that I haven't been at church for a while. Okay, 1, 2, 3.
Okay. So I feel like this is one of the more important, like what we had with the non-member, where we really want to reach out to those who are struggling and make sure that they feel welcomed and, bringing that unity to the church. So I felt like this is one of those that was just as important as the bishop's story, if not more. So
Anybody else
Yeah.
want to say anything?
yeah.
I voted
I think
8.
it was like
I voted 8, and it's for the same reasons. So
Yeah.
yeah.
All right. Are you okay, baby? Okay. Can you go upstairs, please? No. Go upstairs, please. All right. Revote.
All right.
Hang on, let me get to my page here. All right, ready.
1, 2, 3.
Ooh.
Oh,
Okay. Let's. There we go.
I think I just
just
got a
go
little bit of a delay
Canadian
on mine.
Nate.
I like this system, guys.
Okay. What's going on?
Guessing poker.
Okay. Come here. Shh. Okay. Less active member attendee number 2. I feel like there will be judgment if I come back since I haven't been to church in months. What happens when people start whispering or if they don't remember who I am? Do I still come and try to socialize with everyone even if they can't remember who I am? I'm not sure if this is an activity for me. All right. 1, 2, 3.
Okay.
That's pretty darn close.
Yeah.
Yeah, that person definitely needs to reach out, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, that's true.
I think that's true, but I also don't think that that's the only focus of the activity. Do you know what I mean? Like, I think that there are members. So, in our ward, for example, everybody feels like they don't belong. Do you know what I mean? Like, everybody has that everybody's too busy and that they've already made friends, and I just feel like the members of the ward are just as important as the non-members and the less actives. Like, everybody needs, I just feel like they're all the same importance. Because I feel like if you ignore the members that are active, then they're the ones that become less active or non-members. I guess they can't become non-members,
Yeah.
but they
Were
can
you an
become
8? Is that where you're
I'm
coming
8,
from?
yeah. I feel
Okay.
like they're just as the same as everybody else to me.
Well, I gave it the full 10 because I feel like this is the person, like this is the kind of person in our ward who we need to come to our project. Like this is the focus of our project because like we want to make sure that they are invited, that they know that we do care and that we're not giving whispers or stuff like that. We don't judge them and we're welcoming. And so that was my like this is like our gold star person on like what our like who matters in our project.
Well, and we've definitely shown with all the other non-member and less active member stories that this is the focus of our project. So with all these 8s and 7s and these 4 stories, I think we've gotten that. That's going to be well handled.
Yeah.
Yeah, I voted an 8 mainly because I felt like this was the exact same stories above, just a different way of saying it. Because the one above says, and they're a little self-conscious because they haven't been at church for a while. And I felt like this one kind of said the same thing, just in a more, I don't know, vocal way.
Caleb
Yeah.
has a way with words, definitely, right?
I do.
Oh yes.
Got those
Bring out the emotions.
special. Oh yeah. I was a female in my previous life, and
Hey,
just tapping into that emotional side.
Got in touch with your
we're
emotions.
not all
right.
emotional.
There you go. There you go. I was in customer
Very
service for a while, and okay.
okay. 1, 2, 3.
I'm just gonna solidly.
That's pretty much consensus.
Okay, what's going on? Okay, ministering brethren. Oh, our last one. As a ministering brother, I want the opportunity to visit with my assigned families during the activities so that I can get to know them better. All right, 1, 2, 3. Oh, I'm in the wrong spot. Change the one up there to 88.
Okay. So, I guess I'm kind of the outlier again on
Well,
this one. So I kind of view this one as like one of those that we didn't necessarily need to focus on because the project itself, like it was one of those things where it's kind of almost similar to the Elders Quorum, where like it's gonna kind of happen naturally as long as you go to the you go to the activity and we get people to the activity. Like that's more so gonna be like the brethren's duty on their own to like, well, obviously, you're gonna have the opportunity if you go for the opportunity type of thing. So that's kind of, yeah. Like it wasn't necessarily a two like the Elders Quorum president, but it wasn't, in my eyes, just wasn't as big.
Yeah, I can see that. I actually voted the other 8, but I feel like maybe the opportunity to visit. I mean, I guess it really depends on who your assigned family is. I guess that's terrible to say, but like if there's somebody who you always are in contact with, every Sunday and stuff like that, then that might not be as important to the goal of this project than if there's somebody who like you've never talked to before.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I gave it a 7 because I think it's important to like have that initiative among like the ward members to like go out and like visit with each other, because like it's like people know that people need to be visited, but like people actually like taking the step to like go and do that, I think is important. I gave it 7. So
So I was the 5, and my thinking there is they have other opportunities and responsibilities to minister with their families. This project, this activity should not be the only place for that. So that's why I kind of feel like it's moderately important, but not quite as important as the others above.
Yeah.
Revote.
Revote.
Ready? 1, 2, 3.
Okay.
there we go.
No, I'm just kidding.
All right. I think we're done.
Yeah.
I think we have to like reorder these before we turn it in, but
Well, yeah, as we look down now, do we rethink anything? Any we would put higher or lower?
are you allowed to do that?
I don't know.
I mean, just kind of look back. I mean, looking back, it's just like you could think different of the Bishop story after going through all the other stories, but I feel like we went through each story individually the best we could and gave it a pretty, like, all of them a pretty decent score on their own.
Well, and a big part of this activity is to see one another's perspective on things. That's a lot what's going to come up in software development too, is you'll get some input from some users and other stakeholders, along with developers and testing agents. And we saw that, especially in some of the early stages here, everybody had some really different opinions that opened one another's eyes. So I thought that was really good.
Yeah.
looking back, the member attendee number 1, we actually put it a 4, which was to visit with their less active neighbor and discuss the gospel. I guess I would keep that as a 4, but I might even, I don't know.
Yeah.
Where we, yeah, I guess
think where
it's fine where it is.
it had the gospel aspect. I think
Yeah.
that's where we.
Yeah.
Sure.
So, but my question is, in an actual planning poker, would they go back and look at them, or do they leave it how it is and then they just move on because that's how they voted for them?
I don't know.
I think
Let's go
they
back.
leave them as they are, kind of, and then based on the story points or estimates, whatever it is that they're kind of voting on, they would decide on what, like, they could take that and put it into their sprint planning to decide what they need to do first, basically.
Yep.
So,
Okay.
I think. Anyways, I will stop this broadcast now.
All right.
All right.
Well done, everyone.